Greetings, everyone. This is Jeff Wilkerson, Professor of Physics at Luther College, bringing you the next in our series of what to look for in the night sky. We're doing the week of September 16th. This time around, it's a moon week, so we got a lot of moon. It starts nearly full and it's two-thirds full, more or less, at the end of the week. So it'll wash out a lot of the fainter things we might try to look for, but they also provide some interesting observing this week. Let's start in the evening sky and think about, as the sun's setting, we have been watching Venus in the glow of the sky, and Venus is very close to the bright star Spica in Virgo. And remember, we can find Spica. We follow the handle of the Big Dipper, and we follow the curve of the handle. We say it arcs to Arcturus. We have a nice sort of orangish looking star. It's not really very orange, but it looks that way a lot of times to people. In Boetes, a bright star Arcturus, and then we follow that curve on down. We say we spin on down to Spica. The problem is we've been watching Venus in that glow of sunset, and that glow of sunset washes almost everything else out. And Venus, to get an idea, Spica is a first magnitude star. Remember, magnitude system counts backward. We say this every week, and every step of 1 in magnitude is a multiplicative factor of 2.5 in brightness. So, 1 is a bright star. It's a very bright star, but Venus is negative 3.9. So Venus is almost 5 magnitudes brighter than is Spica, and 2.5 to the 5th power is 100. And so Venus is 100 times brighter than Spica, to give you a sense of how tough it is to see Spica in that glow. You got your binoculars, give it a shot. See if you can pull Venus out of the glow right there on the 18th. All week, Venus is sliding by Spica all week, but on the evening of the 18th, as the sun sets, as you got the glow of sunset in the west, you should be able to pick Venus out of there. And you can go, if you want a challenge, go see if you can find Spica as well. Venus on the 18th would be about 2.5 degrees. That's the closest point for me. About 2.5 degrees north of Spica right there. On the evening, an evening earlier, or 2 evenings earlier, the evening of the 16th into the morning of the 17th, the moon is all night long, from the evening of the 16th into the morning of the 17th, the moon is approaching. The moon's almost full, 99% full, and it's approaching Saturn. So they'll make a fine pairing right there, a nearly full moon. It'll look full to your eye, and it's closing on Saturn as the night wears on for me here in the middle of the United States. If you live west of me, you might see the moon separating from Saturn as the night goes on instead of closing on Saturn. But it'll be up basically all night. As it gets dark, there will be the moon, there will be Saturn, and you'll see the two of them. You'll see the moon get closer and closer and closer as the night wears on. Something worth observing. Now, let's keep going. And to say, I got confused about what I wanted to do next because there's different directions we could go. We'll just go in the order we wrote them on the board. So 11:30 at night now, Jupiter should be the bright dot that's clearing the eastern horizon. So you should see Jupiter rise into the sky. And Jupiter Aldebaran in Taurus the Bull is here with Jupiter, and Mars is above Jupiter over here. The two make about a straight line at the beginning of the week, with equal separation between Jupiter and Aldebaran and Jupiter and Mars. Aldebaran, the eye of the bull, is how we translate that from Arabic. And so Aldebaran is the bright orange-red star in Taurus. And so it'll be interesting to compare Mars and Aldebaran in color. See, Jupiter is the biggest, brightest dot right there sitting between those two red objects. But below Jupiter is Orion, the relatively famous pattern of Orion. Perhaps you know it. You've got the 3 stars of the belt of Orion, the bright shoulder star, Betelgeuse, also a red star. So you've got 3 red objects right here to compare the color of Betelgeuse to Aldebaran to Mars. You got the other shoulder star. You got big bright Rigel down here. The other legs are the 3 stars of the belt, Delta, Epsilon, and Zeta. Delta, Epsilon, and Zeta are those 3 stars. Delta and Zeta have companion stars that are about an arc minute, a 60th of a degree away. So any telescope at all, you want to fight the moon, looking for stars with companions. This is a good time as Orion rises into the morning sky. You're not going to want to be able to do this until maybe 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm out 4:30 in the morning, and I'm seeing Orion very, very clearly up in the sky. So 4 o'clock, 4:30 for sure. I'm guessing you can do this a little bit earlier. Delta, each one of these has, remember, a degree is 60 arc minutes. A degree is your finger at arm's length. 60 arc minutes make up a degree. 60 arc seconds make up an arc minute. We usually talk about the separation of double stars in arc seconds. These are almost a full arc minute, 50-some arc seconds for each of these companions. You should be able to pull right out of there with any small telescope if you want to get your telescope out in the moon and look for something like this. Now, Zeta has a very close companion that's 2 or 3 arc seconds and much harder to separate, but probably you can see it as a lobed star. So Zeta is going to look something like a lobed star with just 2 or 3 arc seconds of separation between these and then this other star that's way out there. So that's what you're looking for in your telescope field of view with Zeta. Gives you something to look for there in the morning sky right now. Castor and Pollux are the bright twin stars in Gemini up here above Taurus that we've drawn right over here. And we often think of Castor and Pollux, the Gemini, as strands of stars that stretch down from Castor and Pollux. Okay, and as Castor's the first one. Castor's the westernmost of these two stars, the western more of these two stars. And as we drop down through there, we come to 4.4 magnitude tau, visible, but you need pretty dark skies. It's not greatly visible. You need modestly dark skies to see it. The next drop on down, you come to Mebsuta, and Mebsuta is a 3.1 magnitude star, a pretty bright star. And then you can drop on down to say, let's go down this way and drop down to Nu. Is this star that's down this direction. But we're interested in it now because Mars is in this region. So on the 17th, Mars is right here. Mars is about 3.5 degrees below Mebsuta is what we're looking at right here. Okay, we're looking at Mars 3.5 degrees over here. But Mars is separating from Jupiter in this image, and it's moving up in the direction of Mebsuta, and it will cut that gap. It'll go from here, where you make this nice sort of triangle with Nu, on the 17th. By the morning of the 23rd, it will have crossed over here and be sitting about 1 3/4 degrees below and now to the east of Mebsuta. So watch Mars tracking across that direction, still in prograde motion, moving quite a bit, and we can track its motion relative to these stars in Gemini. I'm very guilty of drawing Gemini on the board, Castor, Pollux, and just saying strands of stars, legs of stars that mark the twins, dropping down this direction. It's worth taking time to actually learn those stars. Learn where to see if you can find Tau, see if you can find Mebsuta, see if you can find Nu, and watch Mars move across there right now. Mars is this red object, so you'll be able to see it pretty well. By the time we get to the morning of the 23rd, the moon will be about 2/3 full, and the moon will be closing in on Jupiter. So if you go back to this picture, the moon will be over here. So the moon will be in this region. Mars will have separated out a little bit. You'll be able to see the 2/3 full moon closing in on Jupiter by the end of the week. So Mars is separating out. The moon is coming in. Now, in the meantime, the moon will have had an eclipse, a partial eclipse, on the evening of the 17th. And we think about this. So this is the sun, and this is the Earth, and the moon sits out here, and the full shadow of the sun, this region right in here we call the umbra, is the region where light from both sides of the sun are blocked. The entire light of the sun is blocked. And then out in here we call this the penumbra, which is where the light from one side you can't see, but the light from the other side you can see. And so this opens back up out this direction. So you get this fainter shadow out in here to say we can get a fainter shadow of the penumbra. Now the umbral eclipse is where you'll actually see a dark part of the moon disappear, and this eclipse starts at about 9:15 Central Daylight Time in the middle of the United States. So about, for me, a little before that, a few minutes before that. Maximum eclipse is going to be about 9:42. So a few minutes before 9:45, but it's only going to be 7 or 8% deep. So it's going to just be a nip of the moon disappearing, but it'll be fun to watch develop. So if you're out there doing something else and you want to watch this eclipse develop, you can watch this eclipse develop from about 9:15 to 9:45 Central Daylight Time in the middle of the United States. A little bit different time wherever you might be. So we've got an eclipse of the moon here. There'll be a solar eclipse as the moon, the sun is here, the earth is here, the moon is here. When the moon gets around on this side, it can block sunlight. So there'll be a little bit of a solar eclipse for some people next week as it gets around on this side. We think about that. These happen this way because they're paired like this often, because the moon and the moon's orbit around, if this is the orbit of the sun, or Earth around the sun, the moon's orbit is tilted about 6 degrees or so relative to that. And the moon, when it's full out here, if the sun's over here, if the moon's full out here and new over here, it has to be in the plane with that tilt. It has to be crossing the plane of the Earth's orbit as new or full in order to get an eclipse. And so that's where it is right now. And we've got half a month there where it's still more or less in the plane. We can get these slight eclipses that are going along. So we've got that. We got that eclipse. We got Mars moving through Gemini, close to the star Mebsuta. We've got Venus near Spica. We got the moon starting the week very near Saturn. That'll be fabulous. And then we can watch Jupiter and Mars sitting above Orion. And if you want to go check out some double stars in Orion, by all means, go do that. So as always, everybody, thanks for watching. We hope you have a great observing week ahead, and we hope you have a great week overall ahead.